In Toni Morrison's Song of Solomon, Guitar and Milkman argue of the different personalities someone can have. Guitar says, "Some are curious, some ain't. Some talk, some scream. Some are kickers, and other people are kicked." This becomes a general description of every character throughout the book. Jake was the father of Macon and the grandfather of Milkman, but also the founder of transforming from the kick to the kickers. As a former slave, Jake was most likely beaten down for the majority of his life. However, he made a huge change for himself and his family when he rose from slavery to create Lincoln's Heaven. Jake established what no other black man had before, and was punished for it by the butlers murdering him to steal his land. Jake died as the kicked, but that simple fact led his son, Macon, into being a kicker the rest of his life. Macon kicked his way to the top with the hidden motivation of avenging Jake by owning as much property as he could get his hands on. Losing his father as a child created a rough exterior for Macon, which influenced him to obsess over possessions and money. Although he can be described as merciless, Macon was one of the most respected in the town. He heartlessly kicked around everyone who rented houses from him, as well as his own wife and daughters, because it was his way of feeling accomplished. Mrs. Butler shared the need for material items of life that Macon had, and committed suicide upon the realization that she would never have back the riches and luxuries that were once hers. She did things backwards from the majority of the characters by turning from the kicker to the kicked. This resembles the actions of Hagar and Rina because they too were fragile and unable to cope with losing their past belongings. Rina and Hagar were used to getting all they could ask for, including men, just as Mrs. Butler was with materialistic things such as expensive clothes and abundance of maids. This caused them to have the inability to carry on after being kicked and was the reason for their deaths. Pilate was the opposite. Beginning with the crushed feelings from talks of her unnatural body and difficult decisions made for self-protection, to risking her life for an uncaring family, Pilate remained a strong individual and never hurt people that hadn't caused pain to her loved ones. Ironically, Pilate and Guitar had parallel troubles during their upbringings. Both of their fathers were killed by uncaring white men, their mothers yearned for love and affection, and they traveled because of broken families. Despite their difference in personalities, the biggest variation in their lives is when Guitar becomes tired of being kicked and turns into the type of people they were both against, the kickers. In the time the book took place, the white race was dominant over the black race. When Guitar's dad was killed, it made no difference to the whites because he was just another Negro. However, it made a world of difference to the Baines family. From this point on, Guitar became accustomed to being kicked around. The white folks that gave his family sweets to soothe the pain of his father's death is where his racism branches from. He never looked at two races as equal and saw every white person as an extremist kicker who would kill any black man. To fuel Guitar's racist fire and foreshadow his joining of the 7 Days, there was a radio broadcast of Emmett Till's brutal death for whistling at a white woman. The death of Emmett Till sparked the start of Guitar's want for justice, which would be satisfied when he joined the 7 Days. This organization was a group of 7 black men who would quietly kill a white person after a black one had been murdered, on the same day of the week the black person was killed. It was an act they believed justified the killings and created a balance between the races, or their way of kicking back. The 7 Days was proof of Guitar becoming a kicker. Once Guitar had a taste of kicking, he liked it much better than being kicked, and let the built-up rage of his past out. His killing of Pilate not only solidifies him as a newfound kicker, it also shows that those who don't become a kicker don't survive.